Lesson 3. This lesson features the following conventions: teacher narration, teacher and role, sculpture, chorus of voices, and ritual. The lesson begins by bringing the writing back into the drama, a key aspect of processed drama in the literacy program. At the beginning of Lesson 3, we watch as Ashleigh and Evelyn bring the writing the students created in Lesson 2 back into the drama, a key aspect of processed drama. We watch as the students create and share their sculptures as an art exhibition. And the processed drama concludes with ritual or ceremony. And finally, we watch the observations and reflections from Evelyn and Ashleigh of the lesson.
In this first part today, we've taken your writing, and I want you to imagine that way after this happened, the writings that were done have been found. They've been collected and put together and just put away. But when they were opened, they crumbled and the paper broke up. And only some sentences were able to be read. And your teacher and I are going to read you those sentences.
Suddenly the water was shaking. We had to leave.
A volcano has just erupted 8 kilometres from my house.
Dad said, get away from the windows. Get quickly, get in the car.
So I got my brother and cousin, because they're the best bodyguards ever.
I'm walking slowly to my bed. My legs, arms and hands are shaking. I'm pulling the blankets over me now.
To my lovely grandchildren.
It was dead quiet. I was scared.
I never saw Kerry and Kieran again.
I feel frightened and sad.
I had to go. The first thing that's important when I chose today to read the children's writing, the first thing I note is that writing in the drama context is most powerful when it's brought back into the dramatic role. So when the children do their writing in role, it's usually a personal, quite intimately reflective time, and that the writing is a very valuable source of furthering thinking, providing it's brought back into the drama and shared with everybody. But sometimes it's really important that young people hear their writing read through another voice. And I think that that brings another element of ways of thinking about it. And so when I'm reading children's writing, as I go to read, I think about how it might sound, not necessarily how does the writer want it to sound, but how else could it sound if someone else read it, which extends the thinking around the words themselves. And if you remember the very first day, it said there were times when it was difficult, times when it was frustrating, times when it was frightening. So when they came to the new place, it was hard, really hard. But after a long time, the people in your story gave a very special gift to someone in the new place. But while she's opening the gift, she's not your teacher. She is the person in the new place that helped the people in your story. when you're working in role, you don't have to behave like the teacher. You can be the cross old lady that growls at people. You can be the really sad person who asks someone to say something over and over again because you need to hear it. It just allows you to, I suppose, broaden the possibilities of behaviours. You don't have to be a teacher type person all the time. The other thing to remember is when you go into role, young people are used to working in classrooms with a teacher who's high status. Teachers ultimately sanction decisions, behaviours, choices, the whole lot. And so when I work in role, I usually choose something that doesn't have that status. Today's examples, we're using teacher in role inside a theatre piece to show a perspective. Different conventions allow themselves to working in teacher and role quite differently. So you might do a whole group role play where the teacher's got a role within the role play, and that's when I would play really low status or sit on the fence. Oh no, sorry, I'm only the advisor from the ministry. I couldn't possibly make the decision. And I don't know what they want. You'll have to work that out yourselves. So there are lots of conventions that allow you to work as teacher in role. It allows you to behave in different ways and to question from different perspectives.
She didn't know what those were when she was opening the gifts.
How did you know that?
Because I could tell by her face.
Ah, she watched her face, and that's how she knew that the lady didn't know what the things were. Now I want you to tell me what kind of person this is. What kind of person is this person? How would you describe her?
Giving them what they need to survive, so she doesn't have what she needs, but she's helping someone out because what they need.
Okay, so you're telling me that what they need is more important to her than her own needs. She puts other people before herself. You're going to make a special exhibition because we need people to understand in our world what it's like when you are displaced. You are going to make a special art exhibition. It's called a living exhibition. That means that you're going to make sculptures out of yourselves, not just on your own. Each sculpture will have everybody in your group in the sculpture. I wonder what would be written on the plinth on your sculpture. What is your sculpture going to show that will help people understand what it's like to be displaced, so that one sentence you write on your paper should tell us what your group thinks the most important thing for people to think about if they are working with displaced people. I need you to look carefully at what you say and think about what the words, which are the most important words, and how you might say them. You're only going to say it once, so the person has to get it. Just read it to me. 1, 2, 3.
We care for each other.
Whisper it quietly, although it's a secret, but you want the other person to know. 1, 2, 3.
We care for each other.
Okay, now I want you to say it as though you really mean it and you know the other person has to hear that. 1, 2, 3.
We care for each other.
Did you see that all of a sudden that was the important word? And we know it was because you said it with emphasis. So it was a little bit louder than the others. We care for each other. I want you to look at what your writing says, and I want you to think about how you're going to read it. Ready, position? Ready, position? And go. Tēnā pai rawa atu.
We are strong together.
We are strong together.
We carried our brother.
The exhibition was so successful that all sorts of important people came to see it.
Supplies for the desperate.
People, it's time now for us to honour all of those people who have been displaced in this world and have moved on and found happiness again. It's time for us to honour all those people who are displaced in the world right now, and we know how they feel. And we're also going to honour any peoples that might be displaced in the future.
The thing that sticks most in my mind is if this is happening to real people.
The thing that sticks in my mind most if they all find a home and be happy once again.
The thing that sticks in my mind the most is will my family make it out alive?
The thing that sticks in my mind is what happens next in the stories.
The thing that sticks in my mind is all the people who have been through one of those situations.
The thing that sticks in his mind is all those people who have been through this situation. Today, when we're sharing back the strongest things that live with us from the drama, I chose to ritualise it by having them come forward and put their hand on the suitcase. I do that firstly to keep the engagement and motivation levels high, and secondly, it is also really important to me that it was a very serious topic matter, and ritualising it honoured the kinds of people we were talking about.
So the fact that I don't act but I go into teacher's role is really different. So the fact that the children know that I'm still there but I have that one significant piece of, or item of clothing, I suppose you'd call it, that changes it. So as a teacher, I'm not worried about the management, I'm not worried about if they're engaged or not, I'm just there as that person in that situation. I would take their writing next to I think I would do more character development. They're really good at describing a setting, they're really good at describing how things might be happening, but to actually understand a character and to say what the facial expressions could be like, how their body language is, and then to have that one whisper of dialogue at the end, I think would just build that tension. So I think just breaking it down slowly but going through the character development would be a big one for my next step in with my class for their writing.